Hofstra basketball practice facility as a new season of Hofstra Hoops is upon us, and it all begins today right here at Media Day. I'm Kenny Conrad, joined by Pat Foster and Andrew Murdolo, set to be joined by both men's and women's basketball head coaches right here on set as well to hear from Hofstra Director of Athletics Rick Cole Jr. But first, guys, just what's the level of excitement heading into this new 2019-20 season for Hofstra basketball?
Well, I'm absolutely thrilled for both teams. For the men's, coming off of what was a disappointing postseason, losing in the CAA championship game to Northeastern, the departure of Justin Wright-Foreman. This is now a pretty new-look squad. We've got DeJour Bowie, fortunately, coming back for this program, a fifth-year point guard. I think he's going to be one of the best point guards in this entire conference. Then you've got Eli Pemberton, someone coming back preseason. All-second team. He's someone that I really like on this team a lot. And Tariq Coburn, Jaylen Ray, a lot of returning guys who I'm really excited about, as well as newcomers. And for this women's basketball program, just a new look entirely after coming off of what was a disappointing 2018-2019 season overall. I think this is a really, really good revitalization of this program. Coach Danielle Santos Atkinson, I've had a couple of chances to speak with her already, and she just seems super excited and thrilled to not only be back home at Hofstra, but to bring glory back to this program.
Yeah, Pat, you talk about the men's basketball team. I mean, obviously we know about all the starters and who may be heading in this year, but I'm interested to see how Coach Mihalik is going to be able to use all the different talent he has this season. Now a couple transfers coming in, some more eligible this season than they were a season ago. So now it's interesting to see how they will work into the way and the strategy of this men's basketball team. But for women's basketball, Pat, you hit it right on the nose. I mean, new coaching staff, new everything, and now the players going to try to get a little bit more energized from this new coaching change, and I can't wait to see what they can do after taking down top-seeded JMU in the CAA tournament last season.
So we'll bring you kind of a pregame of this media day from 11:30 to 12. At 12:05, it'll be the Hofstra Director of Athletics, Rick Cole Jr., followed by Joe Mihalik at 12:10, and Danielle Santos Atkinson at 12:15. And following that, we're going to get into talking a little bit more to each of those head coaches. We'll have them on set to ask them some questions, as well as a few players from both teams. So a lot coming here over this next hour and a half from CAA Media Day. First, guys, I want to jump in a little bit more specifically to the men's basketball team, coming off what was a really strong season. They went 27-8 overall, had a 16-game winning streak throughout, and did not lose a home game until the final game of the regular season to James Madison, before falling in the CAA championship to Northeastern, and eventually in the NIT first round. Just, I mean, that season, obviously, really strong accolades. They have Justin Wright-Foreman going on to the NBA, Jaquil Taylor also playing professionally overseas, and I think that it was just a strong season that, in my opinion, it put Hofstra on the map, not only on campus, but also outside of campus, as being a really strong Division I men's basketball team.
Oh, yeah, and I think you look at the non-conference in particular to see how they gained respect not only in the mid-major community, but in all of college basketball. The competitions against Maryland, VCU, Marshall, top programs, whether they're mid-majors or Power 5 programs, or not Power 5. Well, you have Maryland, who was a Power 5 program, and VCU, who's also up there, was a tournament team last year as well. Those were great, great games for that squad, and I don't think they got the results out of all three of them that they would have liked to. You would have liked to win one of those non-conference games, but the way they played in those games, the way they kept up with some real top-quality talent, two tournament teams, I mean, that was really impressive, and I think that alone really helped Hofstra's name be heard even louder across the country.
Pat, that was humongous, but I mean, 16 consecutive victories is nothing to sneeze at, Pat. I mean, unbelievable season for the Pride, winning 16 in a row on that stretch. At some point, we almost thought, wow, is this team ever going to end up losing? And they eventually did down the stretch, but they still kept the momentum going into the CAA tournament, and they ran it all the way to a championship game appearance. So good job by them. We're going to see how they can continue to build heading into this season.
And I think that that's, a key, is that despite, the last loss at home, they went into the CAA tournament and they played a couple of tough games with James Madison first, a team that had just beat them at towards the end of the regular season in that overtime game right here at the MAC, and they were able to take them down by 9 points. They followed that up with the OT win over Delaware before falling to Northeastern. But I think that overall, the way that they, showed some fight, got all the way to the CAA championship, was really strong. And you talk about last year, there was also a point where they were getting consideration for the top 25. People were getting excited to look when those came out on, I guess, Monday it is, when they released those polls. So, obviously, overall last year, I mean, disappointing in that their ultimate goal was to capture the CAA title, and they were unable to attain that. But in another sense, the fact that they were able to put themselves on the map, it gives them so much to build for moving here into 2019-20.
And I think when you talk about building, you kind of have to point at the loss of Justin Wright Foreman. Yes, he's a tremendous player, one of the greatest players in this program's history. However, when you take a player out of a system like this that still has talent littered within it, you're going to see opportunities, open up for different guys. Tariq Coburn, a guy that took a huge leap last year and really showed everyone in the Hofstra community, everyone in the CAA, how real of a hooper this kid is. Not only can he stretch the floor at the forward position, but he can slash, he can get to the rim. He's got tremendous athleticism. He's a tremendous touch around the rim. This is a guy, I think, with more touches will see more success. And Eli Pemberton, what more needs to be said about Eli? Pemberton coming into a year where he's going to be looked at as probably this team's best overall player. So he's going to be having a little bit more, definitely more pressure on him, but also he's going to be more open. He's going to have a longer leash with Coach Mihalik, and I think he's going to have the floor open up for him as well. I'm just really excited because this look of the team, to a lot of people, might be disappointing without Justin Wright Foreman, but this was a team that was just preseason ranked first in the CAA. That happened for a reason. There's still plenty of talent surrounding this team. Coach Mihalik's going to have a good system put in place for this team. I'm really excited to talk to him later about the way this team's going to look defensively and offensively now with Justin out of the mix. So I think this is a team that could very well finish with that first rank in the CAA, and it's not going to surprise me.
And you highlight the offense, but how about the defense side? DeJour Bowie was last year's CAA Defensive Player of the Year, and he's a fantastic player, not only offensively to facilitate, he can also score when you need him to, but defensively was one of the top players in steals in the CAA a season ago. Not to mention, Stafford Trueheart may find his way right back into this mix. He's a big presence down low that you can put up there and fortify that down low area. Not to mention Isaac Conte finally eligible this season for the Pride. You'll have to see how they'll plug him in down there as well and try to put some height down there to stop offensive chances by the opposition.
And I think that, it's a real testament to this program that they lost an NBA player.
Right.
And we're still ranked number one in the conference heading into the preseason. And it shows that I think that the rest of the conference and the rest of the country has recognized that this is a strong program, and it was partially a product of one player for sure. I mean, he was one of the best players in the country last year, but it's not just because of that one player, and I think that that's something interesting. And when you mention, the fact that Eli Pemberton returns to this team, I think he's going to be looked at a preseason first-team selection. I think he's going to be looked at as a guy who can kind of lead the way and maybe take over some of that Justin role. And what I liked about what Eli Pemberton did last year is I don't know if he had the year he really wanted to offensively in terms of points per game. I think maybe he would have liked to have been a little bit higher in terms of that, but he became a more complete player. He was tough defensively, and in terms of rebounding and driving to the basket, that was what he was doing even when his shot wasn't falling. And I think that that's the sign of a guy who's going to be a leader for this team, is that it's not going to be all about him scoring points. He can do so much more than that on the floor, and I think he's going to be a crucial part of the team this season.
It was obvious throughout games last season. Eli Pemberton is at his best going downhill, attacking the basket, because he is one of the most athletic players, not only in this conference, but in my opinion, all of college basketball. The body control that guy has in midair is second to none. His touch around the rim is remarkable. He going downhill, using his athleticism, drawing contact, getting to the line, that's his game. Can he be a perimeter scorer? Absolutely, but his strong suit is attacking the rack. And someone you touched on earlier, Andrew, was DeJour Bowie. Not only is he an elite defender, and is he going to be a great leader for this team running the point offensively, but how valuable is it to be bringing back the best free throw shooter in the CAA and one of the best free throw shooters in the entire NCAA? Sure, you're looking at one guy, but how many times throughout the course of last season was DeJour Bowie put on the free throw line with the game on the line, and he was averaging 91% from the stripe? So bringing back a leader that's not only going to help you offensively in sets and defensively, but to come up in big moments when the spotlight is on him in big game situations, it's going to be huge for this team, and I think DeJour Bowie is going to have another breakout year. And it's hard to say that a fifth-year player is going to have a breakout year, but a lot more responsibility is going to be on him, and I think he's going to handle that really, really well. And before I let you to add on, Andrew, I just wanted to add something that you touched on, Kenny, the rebounding for this team. Someone that played a massive, massive role for this team with how they rebounded offensively and defensively that they no longer have is Jaquil Taylor.
Right.
So they're going to have to find that answer down low. Isaac Conte, as you mentioned, Andrew, the 6'8" transfer from Georgia, we're finally going to see him eligible to play this year. He's probably going to be integrated into that starting lineup. The question is going to be, though, he is smaller than Jaquil. He only stands around 6'7", 6'8". Can he dominate on the glass like Jaquil did? Because you just have to remember how big big those rebounds were for the Hofstra Pride. You look against VCU, you look against Northeastern, so many conference games. The rebounding Jaquil Taylor was able to provide for this team was huge for their success.
Absolutely, and Isaac Conte, I do believe, is a guy that can end up filling that role for the Hofstra Pride, because again, after Isaac Conte last year, or Jaquil Taylor rather last season, you take a look, Eli Pemberton 4.8 is the next closest in rebounds after Jaquil Taylor is 8.8 per game. So you see where the drop-off could be. That's why you need to have Isaac Conte. Doesn't exactly have to be Rokas Gustis from 2 years ago where he was averaging double-doubles per game in points and rebounds, but just has to be somewhere close to what Jaquil Taylor did a season ago to keep it consistent down low for the Pride as they are used to now.
And a guy who had his moments in terms of rebounding last year was Tariq Coburn, and that's actually how he found himself into the starting lineup. I mean, people forget he was not in the starting lineup at the beginning of the season. He was coming off the bench, but very quickly, I don't have an exact number, maybe 5-6 games into the season, he found himself in the starting lineup because Coach told him, he said this after a game, I believe it was their game, I want to say against Mount St. Mary's last year maybe, I don't remember exactly, but where Coach, said, or he said that Coach said to him, like, hey, you got to but you got to become a rebounder. That's how you're going to get playing time on this team. So I think Tariq Coburn may be another guy who can kind of step up and take, care of some of that rebounding load, because there's no question that if Stafford Trueheart doesn't find his way into the starting lineup, it's going to be a bit of a smaller lineup for Hofstra, which is what they ran last year. They basically had 4 guards and, Jaquil Taylor in their starting lineup, and that can work, but rebounding needs to be a team effort, I think, as far as the Pride go this year.
Anything is possible. I'm not going to say anything's out of the question, but to me, Stafford Trueheart has kind of shown us the player he can be, and that is a guy that brings tremendous energy off the bench, both on defense and offense. The athleticism that guy brings to the court is unmatched. I've seen him block shots above the box on the backboard. Like, this guy can leap, and he's tremendous. Do I think he's going to be the rebounder this team needs? No. So I agree with you, Kenny. Tariq Coburn, someone that did show that rebounding prowess last year, is going to have to step it up again this year. And showing he could rebound last year not only helped him work himself into that starting 5, but it opened up opportunities for him offensively, because people were expecting him to slash and crash off of taking shots from his teammates, but instead sometimes he would stay back, and that allowed him to show everybody how prolific of a scorer he can be. We've got to remember, and I do apologize, I believe it was against Elon, he hit 7 threes in one half.
Yeah.
He's a dynamic scorer, Tariq Coburn, and so this is a guy who I'm really excited to see. Stafford Trueheart, to me, is going to be a guy who needs to continue to bring that really just a tremendous spark and energy off the bench.
Well, I agree with you. I mean, I think that he's a guy who can bring that kind of energy. And let's talk about, I think there's one or two, especially the transfer, Omar Silverio, that I want to touch on. He was granted immediate eligibility by the NCAA after spending some time at URI last season, where he was able to, he didn't see as much playing time, but I think he's another guy that I'm going to be interested to kind of pick Coach's brain about, where he sees him fitting in, because obviously the fact that they pushed for, the immediate eligibility and everything is a great sign, and I think that he's going to be a crucial part of this Hofstra Pride team this year, and I'm just curious to see how he's going to factor into the equation with this Hofstra Pride team.
And that's a question I'm having as well, because just from the general rhetoric I'm getting about this team, Caleb Burgess is looking like the backup to DeJour Bowie this year, and so that's a guy that, he is very intriguing to me. He definitely looks like an explosive, aggressive point guard, but that makes me wonder, where are the opportunities going to be coming from a guy coming from coming from URI, a guy coming from a pretty big program that has seen tournament or has had tournament experience. You got to wonder where he's going to find himself in this rotation. It's hard to imagine a guy like that won't see himself in the starting lineup sometime in this season, but the amount of guard talent, guard depth on this roster is going to limit opportunities for quite a few of these newcomers.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I know, absolutely, Pat. I mean, take a look. I mean, you talk about Bergs, talk about Silverio. You forget Jaylen Ray still on this bench.
That's what I was going to say,
Who's one of the most unbelievable 6 men in the conference last year. He comes off the bench, knocks down threes, just a professional out there, doesn't really get too caught up in the emotion, just goes out there, plays his game. You want to see him continue that this season. And again, a lot of these guards trying to elbow their way into the lineup and elbow their way into some playing time. It's going to be difficult, but it's going to be a dogfight, and it's going to be better, I think, for the Hofstra Pride to have that healthy competition within the team in order to make sure you have your best players on the court each and every game.
And he's another guy that kind of like Stafford Trueheart, I think can be a lightning rod off the bench, or could also find his way into the starting lineup. I'm also, I wrote down to ask Coach that, where does he see Jaylen Ray fitting into this equation this year? If they try and go with that smaller lineup, the 4 guards and, the one center and Conte, will he be a guy who can see some starting time? Because he's a great scorer, but how much do you value his electricity off the bench, like a Lou Williams or something like that, where he's almost more valuable in that role where if the team's a little bit flat or they're struggling to hit shots or, not playing as well, you can just pop him in there, have him hit a couple threes, and all of a sudden it's a different game. So I wonder where he fits into this team as well going into his junior year.
I mean, how many times did we see Jaylen Ray come in and provide that 6-7 point swing that the team needed to get back into a game? If you ask me, I think Jaylen Ray finds himself in the starting lineup to open this season. Joe Mihalik is a coach that likes going with experience. He knows he's going to have the chemistry there, just guys that have played together. I expect a starting 5 on opening night to be comprised of all returning players. The only new guy I think you'll see in there is Isaac Conte, but he was with the program last year. He's been practicing with these guys for the last 2 years. This is someone that knows the guys who are returning as well as the newcomers. So I don't think that is going to be. I think it's going to be a seamless addition into that starting 5 with Conte. But something I want to look at. We've talked a little bit about the guards and the new coming guards for this program. Let's talk about the forwards. Kayvon Kramer, someone who I'm really excited about. He's coming off of 2 ACL tears, 2 full seasons of not playing competitive basketball. But you ask anybody on this roster right now, they would tell you he's probably the most athletic player on this team, and he's taking every opportunity, he's using every opportunity and trying to make the best of it to prove that he's still at that elite level. He's a forward that I'm really excited about for this squad.
My interest here is Hal Hughes. We didn't see him get all that much time last season with the Pride, but my thing is, how can we see him grow? How can we even see him crack the roster on certain occasions? And his height, unbelievably 6'9", this man is standing out there. Down low, most likely, for the Hofstra Pride. Again, we saw Dan Dwyer a lot last season, too. But Hal Hughes, to me, is just another player that it's just interesting to take a look at how he's going to grow and progress and see how much time he's going to get with some of these forwards. Again, like a Stafford Trueheart, Isaac Conte, and as you even just mentioned now, Pat, in Kayvon Kramer.
Yeah, so Hal Hughes is someone that came into the squad last year. As tall and lanky as they come. You said 6'9". You ask me, I really think he's at 6'11". He could even be a true 7-footer. And the only reason I say that is last year, Jaquil Taylor on this roster was listed at 6'10", and he was a legit 6'10". He would stand up to next other guys listed at 6'10", and he was right there with them. Hal Hughes, when I would look at them standing side by side, Hal Hughes had the advantage, and it was a clear advantage. So at least an inch or two. So if you ask me, I think they're kind of selling Hal a little bit short at 6'9". But he's also someone that has impressed me because he came in so lightweight, so skinny. He's been able to put on, depends on who you ask. I've heard somewhere between 25 and 35 pounds. I've heard 50 pounds of muscle. That's what you wanted to see. You needed to see this guy put on weight and put on muscle. He's athletic. He can shoot. If he can find, his groove in this roster and in this lineup, whether it's in the starting mix or coming off the bench, and just be aggressive with every single touch, then this team's going to be scary. If a true 7-footer can find his groove, that's really, really scary.
And that's a little bit about, obviously, the roster. Before we move over to the women's basketball team, just want to touch on the schedule quickly for the Hofstra men's basketball team this season. They opened the season 2 weeks from today right here at the MAC against San Jose State. As far as some marquee matchups on the schedule, they're at UCLA on November the 21st, at Cal State Fullerton November 24th. They also have that Battle of Long Island with Stony Brook on December 10th. That will be here at the MAC this year before conference play opens December 28th, and then obviously you get into the William & Marys and Northeasterns and rivalry games like that. But what were your guys' thoughts when you saw, especially the non-conference schedule released this year as far as the season goes for the Hofstra Pride?
Well, my first thought was this. There's not as much room for error in your non-conference as there was last year. So you had so many top programs on your schedule, like here, as we mentioned, Maryland, VCU, and Marshall. Sure, you didn't come away with the one win that you really needed in those, but you had some areas for breathing room. A loss to Maryland really didn't mean all that much because you had those games against VCU, against Marshall to bounce back and try to prove yourself. This year, they don't really have those games. You have UCLA, which is going to be a huge, huge game for them. UCLA is a team that I really think could find themselves atop the Pac-12. They're bringing in Sharif O'Neal, who sat out last year with a medical red shirt due to a heart condition. He'll be coming back at full health. Tiger Campbell, the point guard for that squad, will be coming back at full health. So that's a team that I think could find themselves atop the Pac-12 throughout their non-conference. So if Hofstra can go in there and get a win, that's going to be huge for them down the stretch. As I mentioned, there's just not as much breathing room in this non-conference this year.
I think very quickly here, the road portion of their non-conference is the biggest key of all that, because the toughest teams they are playing are on the road. UCLA, as we mentioned, Cal State Fullerton. St. Bonaventure wasn't exactly not in the NCAA tournament all that long ago. They were in there pretty recently, so you like to think that's another difficult spot. Not to mention you have to go to the Ivies, Princeton on the road. So not exactly the easiest for the prize, but if they can get big-time victories, they can pull out these victories, it's going to help them resume-wise heading towards the tournament.
So now let's shift over to the Hofstra women's basketball team, a new-looked team in some respects, a completely new coaching staff this season. After last year going 11-22 overall, 3-15 in conference, good enough for a 9th-place finish. Surprised some people at the CAA tournament, though, I will say, early on in a big upset victory in the first round. But I think the first thing, one of the most glaring things with this team this year, obviously, Boogie Brzezowski moving on. She put up around 40 points in that conference tournament upset that they had. She's obviously a big loss for this team, but they also bring in a completely new coaching staff, so very new-looked and I would say like an energetic, fresh start to this Hofstra women's basketball season here in 2019-20.
Definitely a fresh start that they desperately needed. I think this coaching staff's just going to revitalize this program. But you talk about the loss of Boogie Brzezowski. That game in the CAA tournament, dropping 42 points, breaking Elena Deladon's CAA postseason scoring record. Elena Deladon, who just won the WNBA MVP, WNBA Finals, and WNBA Finals MVP. That is a legit record to break. So that right there tells you the loss of Boogie Brzezowski, tells you the magnitude of the loss of Boogie Brzezowski, who's now playing professional basketball over in Romania. This team still has talent, though, and I want to highlight Karia Reynolds, someone that didn't really break out or get really minutes in this roster due to injury early on last season, but she came in and she proved to be a real menace on the glass, grabbing 7 rebounds here, 6 here, 5 there. Offensively and defensively, there was a really good mix of production on the glass from Karia Reynolds, and she also showed a prowess of finishing around the rim. So I think this is a woman, who really is going to bring energy and life to this program. And I just think this squad, though it is seeing new faces, the chemistry they share is great. Whenever you travel with this team, they're like a family. They all really love each other. They love playing together. So I think bringing in a new coaching staff, bringing in a new ideology and philosophy to this team is going to help them on the court. And the chemistry they already have together, the fun and the joy that they have playing and traveling and being on a team together, I think that's all going to gel, and I think that's just going to culminate for a much better season than last season. Whether or not it's going to really see a deep postseason run is left to be said, but I think it's definitely going to be a big jump from last year.
Yeah, Pat, I want to go back to what you said about Boogie Brzezowski. First of all, Boogie Brzezowski leaving, she was the primary ball handler on this team a season ago. I mean, it's no secret. Everybody knows it. Again, 42 points in the CAA tournament game. I mean, that speaks all the volumes you really need to hear. But now I'm interested to see this year how the rest of this team moves forward now. Who gets the ball in their hands a little bit more? Who gets the scoring opportunities a little more? And, Pat, you bring up Karia Reynolds. I mean, she did end up putting up a huge double-double late in the season against the College of Charleston and a big victory there. But there are a lot of other players, just some players that you didn't see get as much time last year that you really wonder about. I mean, Petra Karpenko was as dangerous with the 3-ball when she was on last year as anyone else on this team, as anyone else in this conference. And then not to mention, you keep moving forward, and Jaylen Hines, someone who did not get starts for this Pride team a season ago, but you always see her on the court. She has the skill set. She grabs boards. She can put in layups pretty easily. Not too bad of a mid-range game either. She's definitely someone that I think could really be a pest out there for other teams to face in CAA play.
And I think that's something when you look at this lineup. They return 4 starters from last year, but I think there is playing time up for grabs. Obviously, a new coaching staff means a fresh start. There's no preconceived notions when it comes to these players. It's not, what did you do in practice last year or anything like that. So every player on this team is going to have some sort of fresh start. And I want to touch a little bit more on Coach Danielle Santos Atkinson. She returns to the Pride after being an assistant here, was a part of a program for 2 20-win seasons, and she saw them earn 2 bids to the WNIT. So she's obviously somebody who has been around when Hofstra has been a winning program and when they've been at their best. So I'm curious to see kind of if she's going to channel some of what she learned maybe in those years. Here is the 12th head coach in Hofstra program history.
6 NCAA tournament appearances, 4 WNIT appearances on her resume for Danielle Santos Atkinson. And you talked about it. She's seen success here at Hofstra Hofstra, but what really interests me, she's also seen a really, really struggling Hofstra Pride team as well. You look back at that 2007-2008 season, the team she was an assistant coach for, Hofstra went 5-25 in that season, coming off of a 26-8 2006-2007 season. So she saw this program go from its highest to its lowest in just one season. Now, after that, she did see a huge improvement in 2008-2009 when the team went 16-14. So one season going 5-25, the next winning 16 games, she saw this team put up the third best improvement in the nation. So having that experience, bringing a team from pretty much utter turmoil to, back in the running, but being competitive and really being someone you had to look out for in the conference, I think having that experience is only going to help Danielle Santos Atkinson with this transition and revitalizing this current program.
And you can't forget about her playing days at the University of Florida, because those days she went to all sorts of different tournaments, NCAA second round in 03-04, and WNIT first round 04-05, NCAA first round 05-06. She has postseason experience as a player, and she knows what it takes for her players to play hard enough and get to that postseason. She had to do it herself. So you understand, or rather the players should understand, how she's able to bring her system in and to try to get the players a little more motivated, get them going this season and this time around, and try to see if they can make some even more noise regular season and just as much, if not more, noise in the CAA tournament this season.
And again, we'll have head coach Danielle Santos Atkinson on later, as well as a couple players from the Hofstra women's basketball team. Something I want to touch on that I kind of just noticed or thought of when I was looking at their schedule for this season, and this is obviously different now under the new coaching regime. No major non-conference trip.
Yep.
In non-conference play, the Hofstra women's basketball team will not leave the tri-state area. They're in New York, Connecticut, the Bronx, and that's it. They don't go as far further than Connecticut. So I think that's interesting, and I'm actually curious to see Coach Santos Atkinson's opinion on that, because I'm curious to see if sometimes coaches will use that as kind of a way for their teams to bond, to go on the road, to get away for a while. But she's trying to keep them close to New York. Obviously, you're doing that. You're probably going to have a little bit more practice time, practice days in there. So I'm interested to hear the philosophy on kind of building that non-conference schedule.
So I think it kind of goes without saying that, especially looking at last year's roster, going up against really talented non-conference teams, there's not much at this point it's really going to do for this program. So I do think I agree with the approach of not really challenging yourself too much in the non-conference, because your challenge is going to come with the CAA, right, with your conference play. And a lot of times, if you look at the men's team, that's a team that's going to want to challenge themselves in the non-conference to get ready, because they have the talent, they have the pieces, and they just need to build chemistry. This is a team that doesn't really know their identity at all yet. This is a completely new look squad coaching-wise. They've got a lot of new additions that are going to probably work themselves into the starting lineup. So you're going to use your non-conference just to find your balance, just to find chemistry, just to find what grooves work for you. You can't really challenge yourself too much there, because you're going to be focusing too much on trying to beat top quality teams instead of just trying to find yourself. If this team goes in to conference play having won only 2 or 3 games in conference, I think they'll take it as long as they felt they've built a camaraderie, built chemistry within each other that'll help them down the line in CAA play.
Pat, going back to what you said about the fact that you're trying to build this program back up, you don't need that difficult of non-conference opponents. I absolutely agree with that. But another positive take out of this, which is just a very from a logistics standpoint, fresher legs. You don't have to be traveling around. You have to go to different parts of the country, parts of the nation. You can just stay kind of within your little home area, your little hub there in the tri-state area, and all you have to do is just go up to Connecticut maybe at worst, and then you come right back here. It's not that long of a travel, so fresh legs, don't get bored on a little bus ride maybe or something like that, and all of a sudden now you're a little fresher heading to CAA play maybe than you were a season ago when you had to do all that moving and shaking.
So that'll do it for our kind of preview of this day. Coming up at 12:05, we'll have Rick Cole Jr., followed by Joe Mahalik and Danielle Santos Atkinson. But first, we're going to take a quick step aside for our legal identification. We'll be right back here from Hofstra Basketball Media Day.
That's it. You got a little nervous. I'll cut it down.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hofstra Basketball Media Day here at Hofstra University. Today's a very exciting day on campus as we celebrate the start of the basketball seasons as well as Day in the Pride here at Hofstra University. And we urge everyone who's part of the Hofstra community to document their day using the hashtag Day in the Pride. Thanks to everyone for coming here today and joining us, and thanks to those of you for tuning in on Pride Productions and via our incredible partner, WRHU 88.7 FM. Shortly, you will hear from Hofstra Vice President and Director of Athletics, Rick Cole Jr., Head Women's Basketball Coach Danielle Santos Atkinson, and Head Men's Basketball Coach Joe Mihalik. We are really excited about both seasons starting shortly and can't wait to see everyone here at the Mac Sports Complex. At the conclusion of today's remarks, all three speakers, as well as student athletes from both teams, will be available for interviews. Should you need any interviews, please find myself or a member of the Athletic Communications Office, Rachel, Jim, or Len, and we'll be happy to assist. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming our first speaker, Vice President and Director of Athletics here at Hofstra University, now in his second season, Rick Cole Jr.
Good afternoon, everyone. Stephen, thank you. An exciting time of year. I think as the season progresses, we build with excitement. These men and women have been here since the summer. We always say championships, while people think are won in March, here we believe they're won in the summer, in the fall, in the winter, the spring. It's what you do in your everyday behavior, and I'm certainly proud of the efforts put forth by our men and women. I'd like to thank the media for attending. Obviously, you all are very busy, lots of things going on. I certainly want to thank our on-campus media as well. We are hoping to build on a very exciting campaign last year. The excitement that was in the Mac Sports Complex, certainly winning 16 games in a row doesn't hurt, but certainly our Pack the Mac night where we had our doubleheader last year for our men and women and sold it out, we expect that energy that was throughout the entire year last year to continue. We are certainly excited by the great ideas and efforts by our marketing staff, but all of this is in support of the men and women that represent us in the Hofstra uniform. I'd like to take a few minutes to thank our staff, our coaches, and organizations are all about people. We have a fabulous arena, a fabulous practice facility, but really it begins and ends with the leadership that we have and the players that represent us. We talk a lot about the responsibility we have when the legacy is passed forward on to our men and women and to myself and to coaches. It's a responsibility we talk about with a high expectation. High expectations are good. When we're not afraid of them, you can meet them and you can surpass them. So let me start off by talking about our women's program. Our first-year head coach, Danielle Santos Atkinson, is one of the best. The second she walked into the room, when we talked about this at a press conference, we knew we had our next head coach. We had the right person, we had the right leader, we had the right woman that was committed to the overall growth and development of our student athletes. She was a standout player, she's a standout recruiter, but again, what I love most about her is who she is and what she stands for. We'd like to also congratulate her on welcoming her second member of her own basketball team, as her and her husband Cleveland welcomed London's little sister, Madison, so we're excited to get her on the court, and even if she doesn't want to, we'll get her on there for photos anyway. But again, what a summer her and her family have had. You know, nothing like starting a job and having your second child, and you know, other than that, she's had really nothing to do. So we certainly want to mention Kathy Ingles. She remains in our heart, in our thoughts. And a lot that we will dedicate and remember her as we begin this year. I know that with Danielle at the helm, we will have success by every measure. So I thank her, her staff, and most importantly, our student athletes for all that you've done so far. Our men's basketball picked first in the CAA, which I think says a lot based on what we've lost. I think it says a lot about who we are, what we have today. Tonight's a special night, too, as your teammate, I believe, will have his debut on an NBA roster. Not a bad day for Justin Wright-Foreman, so we're sending our best wishes to Justin. Coach Mihalik and the staff, it's a reload. I think that every time we talk about expectations, people get intimidated, but what we talk about really is the expectations to be the very best version of ourselves. That every day they put the uniform on, they will represent themselves and their families and our extended Hofstra family with incredible pride, integrity, and hard work. We see that every day in practice, Coach, when we watch it. I expect nothing different. It's a one game at a time. I think that if we're all on the same page, that we're comfortable winning 16 in a row, losing one, it's a good rhythm that you have going here, so we're going to accept that again, gentlemen. It's not that big of a deal. We know that. What I loved last year, Joe, is how you talked about it, though. It wasn't pressure. It became fun. You embrace the opportunity. College athletics is facing unique times. We have to remember that it is a game that we take one day at a time, one possession at a time, and we enjoy the gifts that we get to do every day by playing basketball and coming to work at Hofstra. So to Joe, to you and your team, I know there's a lot of expectations, but I wish you guys the best and continue to do what we do. Be our best version of ourselves, and great things will happen, whatever those measures will be. Thank you, everyone. Again, we're looking forward to a great year. Multiple sellouts to Mike Neely and staff. They've guaranteed about 8 to 10, so we're really looking forward to that. I think Mike just ran out of the room. But come back to the MAC. The MAC's a great place. We think it's the best environment in college basketball in the New York metropolitan area, and we look forward to seeing you at the games. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Rick. Now in his 7th season here at Hofstra, please join me in welcoming our head men's basketball coach, Joe Mihalik.
Thank you, Stephen. And it is exciting times. 2 weeks from today, I mean, this very day, 2 weeks from today, it all gets, as we've been saying to the guys at practice, it gets to be really real 2 weeks from now. So it's coming fast, and I wish I could stand here and say, you know what, we are really ready for this, because we're not. And there are some reasons why, but that's okay. It's part of the journey. I'd like to first publicly thank Rick Cole for what he's done for us, and I know Danielle feels the same way. Seth Tierney, I'm sure, thanks for being here, Coach. Seth had a 78 yesterday playing golf and says he never plays. I mean, he's a liar. I mean, look, he's like Pinocchio. His nose is just getting longer and longer. But Brian Graff said it best once. He said Rick Cole has this way of empowering you. And there's that vibe. I know that as someone that works for him and with him, I think I speak for all the coaches. He just has a way of making you feel those, get that power that you need, or become the best, as he just said, the best version of yourself. So, Rick, thanks for all you do for us individually and as teams. We really, it is appreciated. Can we have a round of applause for Rick Cole? Thank you. So, as I said, I don't think we're ready yet. I don't mind sharing this with you. I could, we scrimmaged the other day. I don't know if I'm allowed to mention that we scrimmaged another school, so I won't mention that we scrimmaged UMass. But, I could then stand up. I could say, you know what? I'm going to spend some time now talking about every guy that played great that day. And all you would get is dead silence, because I don't know if anybody played great. But, it's good. We've identified that, and we're willing to take that on, and we want to get better. Our guys, this thing about being picked first, I don't know if there's anything good about it. It's fine. It is what it is. But as I reminded our guys yesterday, we got picked first because of what we did last year. We got picked first because of who we were last year. Well, it's not last year anymore. And, nobody knows. Those people that picked us first, they haven't watched practice. They didn't go watch the 10 schools practice and say, hey, you know what? That team looks the best and that team looks the worst. They just did it all based on last year. So we got reminded of that, as I said, on Sunday, and our guys were great yesterday. I'll tell you what I can talk about yesterday, because we played the right way yesterday. You guys worked your tails off, and we had a great practice, and we played the game the right way. The game we love, we play it the right way. So we're excited. We can't wait to get going. I said to our guys yesterday, I think we have some great leaders on this team. I'm not sure the followers are doing a good enough job. And when I talk about great leaders, I don't know if DeJour Bowie has an equal. I don't know if Elijah Pemberton has an equal. but those two guys are great leaders. And our young guys and teammates have to do a better job of listening and following and understanding what those guys are all about. You know, if somebody once described leadership as getting other people to be who you want them to be. And Desjour Bowie does that. He gets other people to be who he wants them to be when he's on that court with them, and as does Elijah. So 2 weeks from today, San Jose State. We got a lot of challenges. The schedule's going to be fun. We got Stony Brook here. That should be fun. They'll all be fun. We're in a tournament where it's crazy, but the same tournament we have to play at St. Bonaventure and at University of San Diego, and it's the same tournament. Don't ask me to explain it. It would take 20 minins. But we're going to play those. We're going to play UCLA this year. And, of course, our league, which I think is the best league in the country that nobody knows about, will present a lot of challenges. So can't thank you all enough for being here. Thanks to Stephen Gorchow for putting this together. Stephen has no equal in the world of sports information. He dots every I and crosses every T and gets us out there and always working for the school and takes great pride in his job. So, Stephen, thank you for all you do for us as well. Wish you great luck to our women. I know Coach Danielle is going to get you guys going, and it's going to be exciting times. And again, thank you all for being here. And let's here come the games. Let's enjoy them. Thanks.
Thanks, Joe. All that what he said was a lie. Now I'm excited to welcome our first-year head women's basketball coach, Danielle Santos Atkinson.
Thank you, Stephen. I just want to echo what Coach said in thanking everybody for coming out. We really appreciate the support that you guys have had, especially Rick, and bringing me back. It's been a really exciting time, and I appreciate it. To all the media that's out here, the support of you guys, getting our stories out, allowing us to be seen in the community is really, really important and crucial to our success and the growth of the program. So we really appreciate that. Like I said, returning to Hofstra has been absolutely phenomenal. Every single person here has been supportive in getting the program going and redefining our culture and trying to build a winning program. And so we really appreciate everybody's support in that way. Our alumni, the fans, everyone has reached out in support of what we're trying to do and wanting to get on board with what it is and where they see the program going. So we really appreciate that. The team. And coming back and talking about the team, as Coach said, we scrimmaged the other day, and we said we did some really good things. We have a lot to do and a lot to work on, and we discussed that, and they know that. So it's not any secrets there, but the growth that we've seen since being here this summer has been absolutely amazing, and I commend them for that. Since stepping foot on campus back in the spring, we had 2 weeks to work out. And in those 2 weeks, you don't know what you're coming into as a new coach. You don't know what type of players you have. You don't know what type of program, what shape the program is in. And the one thing I can say is the 16 girls on our team have had buy-in since the day I got here. And that's been really great as a new coach coming in. I've never had to coach effort. 99.9% of the time, I've never had to coach effort. But that's very crucial in building a program. There's things that we do have to coach. We got to get better. Fundamentally, we got to get better. We've got to learn to set screens and jump to the ball. But effort-wise, we've never had to coach that, and that's something you appreciate coming in as a new coach. The vision for our program, we've got goals and a vision that I have. We want to win a CAA championship. We want to get an NCAA tournament bid, and that's the vision that I see, and I feel we can get there. Our immediate focus and our current goals are to get better every single day. And so as a team, that's what we talk about every day. Did we get better today? Did we get a little bit better today than we were yesterday? And that's how we go into practice every single day. I tell them we don't have to win a game today. We don't have to win a game tomorrow. Now, in 2 weeks, we want to win a game on November 6th. But today, we don't have to win a game. So how do we just continue to improve, continue to get better, and continue to work towards our goals? Our coaches remind me every single day it's a marathon and not a sprint. I want to sprint and get there fast. I want to be good today. I want to be our best today. And we don't have to be that yet. We want to continue to work towards it, and we want to continue to grow and develop as a team, as people, and as players. But we don't have to be there yet. And so that's where we are in terms of our immediate focus. We want to redefine our winning culture with the team. And like I said, we've got a great team. They're determined. They work hard every single day in practice. But we've got to define what that means to win. We've got to learn how to compete every single day. Every single time we step out on the court, how do we compete, whether it is I'm going to get to my water bottle first, or whether it's I'm going to sprint to the line to shoot my free throws first. That's how we've got to learn how to compete, in those little things, in the small details, so that when we do step out on the court and we're going versus other opponents, we know what that's like. We know what that feels like, and we have an expectation when we step out there to compete and win games. We want to pour in our team this year. So as a new coach coming in, like I said, you never know what you never know what you're going to get. And there's a lot of talk about the people you want to bring in, the things you want to do in the future. And you lose track at times of this current team. And I want to make sure that all of us and our staff know we want to pour into this team that we have this year. I want our seniors, we've got 5 seniors on the team, I want our seniors to have the best year that they've had of their careers. There's wins and losses, and there's wins and losses in a lot of different categories. I want us to have wins in every single area. And to be able to do that, we've got to have a staff on board that wants to impact lives, that believes, again, that you can win and lose in different areas. And I think we've done that in developing our staff. We've got to recruit. We're going to recruit. We've done a great job already in getting some great players on board. And then again, like I said, the staff that I think we've assembled has been great. Like Rick mentioned, and Kathy and Glaze, we had some adversity this summer, and our team really bonded together along with our staff and was able to get through that tough time, and we've come back even stronger from it. We lost our leading scorer in Boogie Brzezowski last year. And that was tough. Boogie Brzezowski. We lost a lot of points, and we talked about that as a team. What does that look like for our team? Like Coach said, with his team, you guys have expectation, and the women, our team is looking to you guys to lead that charge in that way. For us, we talked about it the other day. It is our staff, the people in this gym, and the coaches that know what we can do, that believe wholeheartedly in what it is that we can do, and I've seen you guys work every single day. We're returning 13 players, 5 seniors. We've got a transfer from Pitt and 2 freshmen, and that's what we'll be moving forward with as we open up on November 6th. Our first home opener is November 13th, so we'd love to see all of you guys out there as we take on Stony Brook, our Long Island rival. But thank you guys again. We really appreciate everything that you guys do in support of our program. We're going to continue to work hard, continue to give it everything that we have as a staff and as a program on the court, and we're looking to make you guys proud. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Danielle, Joe, and Rick, and thank you all for joining us. This concludes the formal portion, and media in attendance. If you need anything, please see myself, Rachel, Jim, or Len, and we'll be happy to assist. Go Pride.
Pride women's basketball team. All right, so both of you here for yet another season with the women's basketball program, and you take a look at just the changeover throughout the offseason. So now you have a brand new coaching staff you have to work with. So I want to ask you about what excites you the most with the new coaching staff.
Obviously, change is the most thing that excites us, and I think we have changed a lot since the summertime, and we have been improving every day, and seeing what she can bring to us and to the team is very important to us.
Yeah, definitely. It's a new season. Everything is new, so we're very excited to get to it and just waiting for a game day.
You guys are 2 of the 5 seniors she talked about and stressed having and really making this chemistry stronger than it would be without you. How do you guys think you've helped her directly transition into this new role with this team?
Yeah, go ahead.
First of all, by listening, we have had to learn a lot of new stuff, and we have had to put into practice what she's telling us. We have had to change bad habits that we had, and seeing how all these coaches have been telling us new things to do has helped us with that.
Yeah, and just like she said, getting better every day, effort, competing, like that's what we gotta do, and she's gonna help us get better.
As a team, what were kind of the focuses for you guys in the off season heading into this new year, and individually, what were you focusing on improving your own games?
Well, first of all, when she came in the off-season in the summertime, like I said before, we had to change so many things, so many bad habits that we had. And yeah, during practice time, individually, working on some new things that she wants us to work on. And yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, just working what we do, improving your own individual things, and then just working as a group. Like we lost Boogie, but now we just got to learn how to regroup after that and just work hard.
Talk about some of these freshmen, one of them, Piper Dew. How have they kind of integrated themselves into this team, and where do you see them fitting in down the stretch of the season?
I mean, they're working hard. They're very athletic. They're great in the group. Like, we have tough practices, and I mean, you don't even see them as a freshman in practices. Like, they're very good. They're good, yeah.
Yeah, especially the freshman Sorrel. She has stepped up a lot, and she is being a leader on the court, and she is actually letting us know where to be on the court and what to do, and that's a really good thing from a freshman.
And we spoke about Coach Atkinson a little bit. How about the couple assistant coaches that have come on board? What's your relationship like with them, and how have they kind of helped the team or helped support Coach Atkinson so far?
They're great. We have very good relationships with all of them, and it's like a good group. We have a good connection with the coaches, and they support Coach Atkinson, and they help us to get better every day, and that's how we've been just working hard, and that's how it's been, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really good, the respect that they have from the head coach and the respect they have for players too, and it really translates on the court. Like, they believe in us, and then we believe in them too.
And Anna, specifically for you, as far as this offseason goes, obviously, you had some injury going into last season. How helpful was it for you to have a full offseason of training and kind of getting yourself ready for the new season? Just how much of a more improved player you think you can be here in 2019-20?
Definitely with Coach Santos, I think she has improved me a lot as a player, and there's so many things that she has changed on me, not only on the court but off the court too, and I think doing the little things every day is going to help build like that team that we want to be.
You guys both experienced players now in your senior seasons. Losing Boogie is one thing on the court, but off the court, what do you guys think you lost with her that you're trying to make up now as seniors?
Well, definitely a leader, and now we're still looking for who's going to step up, but now it's being collectively. Everybody's leading. Somebody's leading today, somebody's leading tomorrow, but definitely as a seniors, we are up there as a group to lead. But yeah, she was our leader last year, and now it's a long season, so we definitely have to, have somebody there.
We definitely need to have consistency from everybody. Like, one day somebody's going to step up, but maybe the next day that person is not stepping up, so somebody else needs to do it, and that's how it's going to work probably.
how about the non-conference schedule this year? Usually you guys have like a big road trip where you go to Nashville or Vegas. That's not on the schedule this year. What's the team's feeling about that? You think that maybe staying local will help keep you guys fresher in the non-conference?
I mean, definitely road trips are always hard when they're far away, so now it's easier to be closer. You can definitely focus on school.
Yes.
But now I think it's a good thing, like we get more rest and there's new teams that we haven't played in all our 4 years, so I'm excited to see how those are going to be.
So you guys did have overall it was a struggle of a season last year, but you saw a huge win taking down JMU in the CAA tournament. Though the CAA tournament as a whole probably didn't end the way you would have hoped after that victory, what kind of confidence does it give you knowing you guys can still muster up big wins even despite a previously tough season?
Yeah, I think definitely the end of last season taught us that if we work hard, then results are going to come. And I think coming into this season, then we want to start the season like we ended it last year. We want to keep going in that high note and show people that we can actually be up there. Like, they don't believe that we can be there, but we do. We're the ones that practice every day.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Now teams saw what we can actually do. Like beating JMU was huge for us. I don't think we have beaten JMU our careers here, so it was definitely a great victory, and we just want to show how we've got even better from that.
And just one more question before we let you guys go. Who, as far as players, is there anyone that stood out to you? Maybe it's a returning sophomore or a freshman that's really stood out to you so far in practice as being someone who might not be on like our radar, but you guys think will have a big impact this season?
I think somebody that really has stepped at is Sorrell, the freshman.
Yeah.
I think she is our leading point guard. She has become one of them. She has become one of the leaders in the team. And I think she can really step up this season.
Yeah, and I would say also Jaylen.
Yes.
It's been a pleasure playing with her, and she's gotten even tougher and more confidence from last season, and I think she's going to make a great impact this year.
Great. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it, and good luck with the season.
Thank you.
So much.
Good luck, guys.
Thanks.
That was Ana Hernandez-Heel and Marion Collin, two seniors from this Hofstra women's basketball program heading into this season. Kenny, I liked a lot of stuff they said. They seem really confident. That win against JMU definitely showed them a lot, showed them how they can be successful even in the midst of a struggling season. What did you like that they were able to comment on in that little interview we had to speak with them?
I thought that, the kind of things that they were saying, and also what we had Coach Atkinson saying when she was up there were, things of positivity and moving forward, as well as kind of moving into this upcoming season. And I think that that's something that is going to be a key for them, is putting last season behind them and moving forward. As we're now joined by two players on the Hofstra men's basketball team, Tariq Coburn, Isaac Kate. Thank you for joining us, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Good, yeah. So first off, guys, just off-season workouts, practices now. How have they been going? What's the mood around the team?
They've been going good. Off-season work, we're just working every day, trying to get better every day. Like Coach said, just taking it a step at a time, and it's just all been well for us.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. We got practice 3 times. We got practice like 3 hours a day, and we got weights. So it's just pretty much, we have like the same returning group. We just got to pretty much set the path for the freshmen and the new incoming players.
Now, there's really no escaping this question. Obviously, you guys lost Justin this offseason, going into first season in 4 years without having a player of his caliber. What have you guys been working on in order to fill some of the gaps that might have been open now with him no longer being on this roster?
Yeah, that's the question we've all been getting. But like Coach said, it's just been new player roles, just the next man up, Everyone just has to take it up another notch now since Justin's not here. And, we just been doing a great job at doing that as a team collectively.
I think we're ready to more people are ready to step up and stuff like that. And we should be pretty all right without Justin.
Yeah.
I think we'll be fine.
And, for you specifically, Isaac, just last season sitting out all year, how did you stay fresh? How did you keep your mind into you basically practiced for months and months and months. How did you keep your mind involved in those practices? Because it's hard with no games.
Yeah, it is. I just really stayed the course. It was definitely hard and depressing just sitting on the sideline all year and stuff like that. But, yeah, I just stayed the course, My teammates helped me through it, and it just got easier.
Isaac, kind of staying with that theme of you individually, you're a very unique player to this program, something this program hasn't really had in quite a while. Other than what do you bring to the court in terms of numbers, what have you tried to incorporate into your own game, and how have you tried to be a leader, and in what ways have you tried to feed off of guys around you in order to be a new leader for this team?
As far as being a leader, just follow the leader now. DeJour Bowie, take notes from him, see how he interacts with guys and stuff like that. So when it's my time to step up and be a leader, I could just, be a smooth transition. As far as adding to my game, just been shooting a lot with Coach Speedy, getting that jump shot up because that's been a weakness of my game a lot. So now, the jump shot is looking smoother now and better, and it opens up the floor for the team. So.
And Tariq, more specifically for you, as far as your game in the offseason, what were you trying to work on? Because you kind of had a similar situation to Isaac where, you didn't have a lot of playing time the year before, and,
right.
What's your goal going here into this season?
It's more of scoring off the dribble, showing I'm just not just a shooter, and just putting more things together, shooting off the dribble, scoring, attacking, catching shoots. So just all-around game.
Tariq, again, kind of aiming at you. Looking at this schedule, a lot of interesting games for you guys, but St. Bonaventures, that's got to be a game you're licking your chops at, huh?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. What are you looking forward to most about playing them?
Just showing, just pretty much just playing as hard as I can and just showing, why, I should have been playing before. That's it.
And I'm curious about, the whole being picked first thing. Obviously, Coach didn't seem like he was thrilled about it. It is what it is kind of thing. But do you guys see it as a vote of confidence that even without your leading scorer from last year, people are still looking at you to be atop the CAA?
I think it's confidence right there. But like Coach said, there's a bullseye on your back. So now every team's going as hard as they can against you. So you just got to be the best every time, every game.
Yeah, to add on to what Tariq said, Coach said, people are just picking us first because of last year. We ain't do nothing yet, so we got to prove it while we're first. And we believe we're first, too, so as a team, so, yeah.
We were talking a little bit earlier about how your non-conference schedule last year kind of gave you guys a little bit more breathing room with how many top-quality opponents you had on that schedule. This year, not really so many. UCLA, really the biggest of them all. How important is that, not just that game in particular, but that entire West Coast trip going to be for your non-conference schedule and grabbing a win against UCLA, a team that could very well find themselves atop the Pac-12? How big of a confidence boost would it be taking down a team of that caliber?
It'll be very big for us, and we have a lot of confidence. We feel like we can beat them, right now we're just trying to find our identity as a team, but we're definitely looking to beat them. That would be a big confidence booster for us as a team. So,
and it'll also help us roll towards the conference play too. So getting good wins and away games will actually help us when we're in the conference time.
One guy we haven't touched on, Eli Pemberton. How have you seen him grow into a little bit more of a leader once, obviously Justin went to the NBA draft, and just what kind of player is he on the court? I think last year, from my perspective, I saw him really become more of a leader in terms of rebounding and getting to the basket and things like that. What's your perspective on that?
Eli, he grows every day. He's a great leader. And since Justin's left, he knows that he's the next guy up, and he has to step up, and he's put the team on his back and lead us all the way to an NCAA tournament and a championship, hopefully.
Just adding on to that. So, guys, let's talk about this team. Isaac, you're probably the biggest name in terms of newcomers. Everyone knew you were just waiting to get into this roster and start making your presence felt. But let's talk about some of the other newcomers to this team. Hal Hughes, a guy that was on the roster but didn't see any time last year. But you've also guys Kayvon Kramer, Caleb Burgess, Carl Gibson Jr. Who of these newcomers or new additions to this team have really stood out to you guys thus far?
You got Omar Severio.
Oh, yeah, true.
Guard from Rhode Island transfer. He should be really good. Played in the A-10 a little bit, so score the ball. That's a new addition. Pretty good for us.
Stood out to me. I'm gonna say Caleb. He's not like a normal freshman. He comes in. He's like nothing really rattles him. He's, like I said, not a normal freshman.
Cool. All right, great. Yeah.
One quick question for you guys just before we wrap this up. In order to win and really capture that first seed in the CAA heading into the CAA postseason, what does the mentality of this team have to be?
Toughness. Toughness, really. You really got to be tough to play this game mentally, not just physically tough, just mentally tough, to really capture that number one seed, I feel like. So,
toughness. I think defense, too. like we have a lot of good scorers. We just need to like be very good on defense. So because the offense is going to come to us, so we just need to be really solid.
Great. Thanks so much, guys, and
Appreciate it.
best of luck in 2 weeks.
Thanks for having us.
See you then.
Good luck, guys. Thank you.
And again, that was Isaac Conte and Tariq Coburn of the Hofstra Pride men's basketball team. And before we get into what they said, we have Hofstra head men's basketball coach Joe Mihalik coming on now. Coach, just first off, how's the offseason been? How have the workouts been going? You touched on it a little bit, but just what's the level of excitement heading into this season?
Well, I mean, we're excited every day because we love what we do. I mean, it's fun, but you know, the off season, I don't know how you define an off season, but you know, the season without games, I guess you'd call it, because our guys are around all the time, lifting and working and practicing. But it was, I guess the answer to the question is we'll see how the offseason was once the games start.
Coach, one of the most compelling things you said while you were up at the podium, at least to me, was how you've been able to find those leaders. You've had them kind of established, honestly, in DeJour Bowie and Eli Pemberton, but you're waiting to find those followers. Who are going to be the great followers? Could you elaborate a little bit on that point?
Well, you know, I think DeJour Bowie's a special guy. He's just, you know, when he says something, every head turns. Elijah as well is a great leader. But these guys have to understand, the younger guys just have to understand that, you know, a few years ago it was Wanye Green who was showing DeJour Bowie how to be, and it was, you know, I'll go back as far as Dion Nesmith and Zeke Upshaw, and all through the years it was always somebody else teaching the young guys how to lead, and that's when you have a good culture. And I'm proud of the culture that we have here, and DeJour, a year from now, DeJour won't be here, Elijah won't be here, and hopefully Tariq Coburn and Jaylen Ray and Isaac Conte and those guys will now be the voice of the team.
And, Coach, we're going to get a ton into this upcoming season, but I do have to ask you about Justin Wright-Foreman making the opening night roster for the Utah Jazz. Just have you had the opportunity to speak to him, and what was that conversation like?
We text back and forth all the time. I mean, it's just, man, it's almost surreal. You know, it's just surreal. I just think back to the night of the draft, and hearing his name, and then follow him in the summer league, and now, sure enough, it's opening night, and he's going to be in uniform. And you know, we all know the story. His freshman year, he barely plays. He only scores 40 points on the year. And then last year, he's second in the country, and now he's in an NBA uniform. And honestly, I really mean this. I get the chills every time I think about it. It's just a wonderful dream come true story.
So what do you think it says not only about this program, but how really the rest of this team showed how talented they are last year, still receiving that first overall ranking? And how have you been trying to keep the players focused and locked in and making sure they don't take that preseason ranking for granted or don't let any competition go by the wayside?
Well, you know, you heard me refer to it. We had a scrimmage the other day against another Division I team, and if these guys need to be reminded that where you're picked in the beginning of the year really doesn't mean much, they were reminded, because you know, we did not play like a team that would finish first in our league. I told them that after the game. I said, I don't know who we beat. If we play the way we played today, you know, we're not going to beat Charleston. We're not going to beat Northeastern. We're not going to beat Towson, Delaware, JMU. I'm not going to go on and on. I'm not saying we beat the other guys. So hopefully they know that, and hopefully they learn that, and sometimes that's what it takes. But, you know, we're proud that they picked us first. It says a lot about our program. It says that people respect us. People are aware of us. We're relevant. You know, and that's what you want your basketball program to be. But at the same time, as I already said, it doesn't matter where you're picked before the season. It only matters after.
And, Coach, in terms of the center position, just getting into the roster a little bit for this upcoming season, obviously Isaac Conte, we had him on before. Just what have you seen out of him, and, you know, is this kind of his job to lose at this point?
Well, 100% it's his job to lose, and that's not to say that Kevin, I'm going to mispronounce his name, Skuta. Whenever he says it, he sounds very Dutch, which he is. He's Dutch. But Kevin Skuta or Hal Hughes haven't worked hard, and we feel like they'll be competent backup guys. But it's Isaac's job. He's won it. Everybody knows it. I mean, we might as well just be aware of that. we're hoping he gives us something that we haven't had, out of somebody that you can really dump the ball inside to, and he can convert and score and get three-point plays and be a force in there.
Coach, let's talk about some of the newcomers that we didn't see on the bench last year. Kayvon Kramer, Caleb Burgess, Omar Silverio. Who have really stood out to you and to the rest of this team as newcomers and freshmen heading into this 2019 season?
Yeah, all those guys. You mentioned Isaac, and then we have the four new guys. Omar Silverio is a transfer. He's a sophomore. He shows flashes of being somebody that can really help us, especially offensively. I think he would even tell you he's got to get a little better defensively and so forth. Caleb Burgess is a point guard. He's working with DeJour every day. I mean, he's like the backup quarterback. I mean, he's like, and if you've got to be ready to go in case if I'm a Bills fan. So if Josh Allen goes down, then, Barkley has to be ready to step in. But Caleb has a good basketball IQ. He's a pure point guard. He's a leader on the floor. Kayvon Kramer really works hard. I would refer to him as an angry dunker. He's a real athletic guy, strong, physical, long. His skills are improving daily. And then the other guy is Jermaine Miranda, whose nickname is Poppy, who might be our best offensive rebounder at 6'3".
And Coach, just to look at the rest of the starting lineup, you return three starters. You pretty much alluded to Conte being in that starting rotation. How are you planning on deciding kind of that last spot on the roster? Is there, on the starting roster at least, is there a need for size, or does it not really matter? Just what are your thoughts on that kind of last starting position?
Well, I don't mind telling you that it's going to be Jaylen Ray. I mean, he's earned it, just like Isaac. He's earned it. It's his job. He came here and it was a coin toss on September 1st, and quickly he won the job. So if we have a game tonight and nothing changes in the next couple of weeks, I mean, DeJour will be our point guard, Jaylen Ray will be off the ball, Elijah will be on one wing, and Tariq Coburn will return and play the way he played last year. We have point guards, wingmen, and a big guy, and so those three guys, and then Isaac Conte will start. So that's our starting team. Might as well throw it out there.
What do you think that Jaylen Ray can kind of add to that starting rotation in terms of being a scorer and everything like that?
Yeah, I mean, listen, he can really shoot the ball. I think his mid-range, we've challenged him to make his mid-range game and his attacking the basket finishes better, and he's responded. He's been really good with that. We have a team that I think can still score points, although it'll be different than last year. We also have a team that I think can still score points and not have the same guy lead us every night in scoring. It could be any one of those five guys could lead us in scoring, really. So we'll be balanced and we'll be different.
Coach, shifting the focus from the roster to this schedule, last season you had three huge non-conference games, Maryland, VCU, Marshall, which gave your squad kind of a little bit more breathing room throughout that non-conference schedule. This year, the big game is UCLA. That's really the one that really flashes off the schedule. How important is it not only for the potential for an at-large bid, but just for the confidence for this squad moving down the stretch in that non-conference before the Florida tournament and into the conference schedule? How important is that UCLA game going to be against a team that could find themselves atop the Pac-12 very, very soon?
If you want to make comparisons, it would be like Maryland last year. VCU is going to be like Bonaventure this year. Marshall's probably going to be like maybe University of San Diego or something like that this year. We've got a good schedule. We've got a really good schedule. And I always say that your non-conference schedule sharpens your teeth for your conference schedule. But yeah, UCLA, I mean, that's going to be an incredible experience. I mean, every kid should have the experience of playing UCLA or Kentucky or Duke or something like that. So in 20 years, they can tell their kids and grandchildren that they played at UCLA. But, they're all different. They're all really neat. But our first game is going to be just as important as our UCLA game when we play San Jose State.
And Coach, just season opener 2 weeks from today, what's the number one thing that you're trying to work on here and focus on heading into that opener?
Probably a lot of the intangibles. We have to. Again, it comes back to Justin Wright Foreman not being here anymore. We got to figure out a way to still be good. We got to be a little better defensively. We got to rebound a little bit better than last year, defend better than last year, and find a way and find someone to convert at the end of possessions and at the end of the game because Justin did it for us last year.
Coach, last question before we let you go. We asked this to Isaac and Tariq before you sat down with us. What does the mentality of this team have to be in order to capture that number one ranking in the CAA and ultimately that CAA championship?
Well, we just have to have that, let's win the day attitude. We can't look to winning the conference championship. All we got to think about is having a good practice today. And if we treat every day the same way and just have that, I know it sounds corny, but just try to be the best version of ourselves every day, so that being as good as you can be every day becomes a habit. Then we can just take this one game at a time and see where it takes us.
Hofstra men's basketball coach Joe Mihalik. Coach, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, guys. You guys do a great job.
Thank you so much. Great luck with the season.
And again, that was Hofstra men's basketball coach Joe Mihalik talking with us here on Hofstra Basketball Media Day, as we're live on 88.7 FM WRHU Hempstead. We have one more set of interviews coming as Alexis Davis and Jaylen Brown will come to the table. And Pat, I think that as we welcome them on, something that Coach Mihalik, touched on was just what the mentality has to be, I think, there at the end to win the CAA, and I think that's something that's really important.
Yeah, and I think that's going to have to be a shared mentality throughout the team, so I'm really excited to see if they can embrace that and keep that going for the entirety of the season.
And guys, just let's talk a little bit about off-season workouts so far, how they've been going for the team. Just what's the spirit, what's the mentality around the team right now?
So far, just the atmosphere just has been a change, which is really good. Lately, our practices since the beginning of the summer, we pretty much practice the same concepts. So it's effort, compete, and consistency. So that's our really main big three focuses that we work on during practices. So if we know we come into practice with the effort of giving effort, being consistent, doing everything the same way, but doing it the right way, and competing, then we know our road is really bright. So.
Jaylen, last year a newcomer to this program. This year we're one of the many returners. How has your approach to this season changed from last year to this year?
Definitely changed a lot. I'm definitely noticed I'm taking on a way bigger role this season than last season, just from a leadership standpoint as well. Just communicating more, talking, producing more on both ends of the floor, and having just a bigger responsibility.
Lex, for you, you're coming off an injury, still working on it. How's rehab going? How's everything feeling?
Rehab is good. I feel really good. I feel like I'll be back sooner than later. So I'm really excited. I feel like it's a change, so it'll be something different.
As far as the coaching staff, just what has Coach Santos Atkinson brought to the table so far, and what has it been like getting used to working with her? What have been some of the differences and changes so far?
Definitely her intensity, her passion shows a lot in workouts. Just her being a mother of two as well, coming to workouts straight, right off the bat, coming in, working hard. So for me, seeing her work hard, giving her all every day, helps me translate that on the court as well.
Same. First off, she's a genuine person, so her being genuine, it transfers over to her being a genuine coach, always being honest with us, putting us in the right position to better ourselves, and then better ourselves off as a team. So her presence here is just is very empowering. You can feel it, and you can. You don't have to second guess. You don't have to wonder, do I have to hop on this bandwagon? You want to be on it because she's a genuine person. So you want to follow somebody who's a leader and who's also genuine.
And when she was up there, speaking about the goals for the team and all that stuff, I almost sensed a breath of fresh air from her. Is that kind of the same way you guys have felt too?
Yes, yeah, definitely.
So looking at this entire coaching staff, definitely it's all changed. Preston Beverly is someone that I've really been interested in because he's coming from a men's JUCO program. Has there been a different approach from him to coaching a women's team? Have you noticed that maybe there's some different styles or things that he just enforces in practice that are good for you guys that you didn't really get experience with the other coaching staff, maybe that he's just integrated into this program, something different?
So Coach Babb, he's more of the energy. He's that coach who brings all the energy into practice, who gets everybody going, making us compete. But more for the guards, he's more with the posts, so we don't really get to see the interactions. But outside of that, he just wants us to really go hard. And I feel as though even though he's with the men side of part of basketball, it still translates to our side too. So he's really good. He's really a big energy guy. So.
And personally, I feel like his energy he brings is really good for our team and per se, because he's always yelling, he's always hype, and from us being kind of like a quiet team, he brings that out of us too as well. So.
How about the non-conference schedule, guys? I mean, typically you guys will take a longer road trip to whether it be Nashville or Vegas or something like that. No trip like that on the schedule this year. You feel like that's helpful in terms of, keeping up with class and staying rested during non-conference? And, just what are going to be some of the more challenging opponents, you guys think?
Well, you always want to get the chance to travel. So that's probably like the down part about it. But outside of that, like, at least we could say like we're in class and stuff, so we won't be too off with anything. But I think so far with this non-conference games, it's going to give us like a look and like to see where we will be, like where we're at before heading into like conference play. So I think like our schedule is really good, and I'm looking forward to like our team playing, like seeing like how we would produce.
So kind of bouncing off of last season, you guys, the end of the CAA tournament in particular, maybe not what you wanted, but you came out with a huge win in that tournament, taking down the number one ranked team in the conference. What kind of confidence did it give you taking that kind of game after what had been a pretty tough season, and what kind of energy does it give you now going into this season? What did it teach you? How have you guys grown as players, being able to put together such a monumental win?
The end of the last season definitely gave us a lot of momentum coming to the season. Like, we believe that we can beat anybody in our conference after what we did last season, and just takeaways, like trying to build off those wins instead of going backwards. We try to move forward and build off of that.
Same. I feel like going into like the conference finals, like the conference play, I think it showed us like what we are. We don't want to like really like talk about the past because that's the past, but like going into there, like it shows us like what we could be heading forward. So I think we were really just going to like work off like what we did there to let it correlate to like what we're doing now pretty much. So I think, yeah, it was pretty good. So
let's talk about the future a little bit. Coach Santos Atkinson has really made it a point that this is going to be a process. She has that ultimate goal of capturing a CAA championship, but for now, it's just to get better every day, each and every day, just a little bit better. How have you guys embraced that mentality, and how important do you think it's going to be to keep that mentality throughout the stretch of the season?
It's definitely going to be important. Like in practice, we just focus on taking one day at a time, one drill at a time, trying to get a little bit better every day, and that's going to help in the season instead of looking forward to upcoming games. Just take one game at a time, focus on what we need to do for that opponent.
Right.
All right. Yeah, go ahead, Elisa. Sorry.
Oh, and then like we all we're getting used to being uncomfortable. So they always say get used to being like uncomfortable to make yourself more comfortable. So we just really like just taking on like those concepts that JK just said, and we're going to empower off it.
Alexis Davis and Jaylen Brown, guys, thank you so much for coming on. Look forward to seeing you on the court in a few weeks. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks, guys. Good luck with the season.
Thank you.
And we have one more round of interviews coming up as we'll have Jaylen Ray and Caleb Burgess coming over in just a few. And Pat, I think, something that they, specifically said is just how excited they are to work with Coach Santos Atkinson and how exciting it's going to be here going forward this upcoming season.
Just a new energy in the program. You got to love seeing it. It might not be a CAA championship caliber season, but it's definitely going to be a huge improvement, and it's going to bring energy and life to this women's program. We're now joined by Jaylen Ray and Caleb Burgess, two members of our Hofstra Pride men's basketball program. Guys, how are you doing today? Are you excited, looking forward to this new season?
I'm very excited for this new season. It's going to be new because we lost a lot of key players, but everybody should be surprised what we have to offer.
Got you.
I'm doing good. I think we're going to be really good this year. I feel like we're really deep. We got a lot of depth at each position. I think we'll do really good in the conference this year.
So, there's no reason to mince words here. Coach Mihalik and Isaac, as well as Tariq, have been singing both of your praises all day. Caleb, let's start with you. DeJour Bowie, everyone's saying that you're going to be his backup. You're the backup quarterback, were the exact words of head coach Joe Mihalik. Talk about DeJour and how he's been able to help you transition into this team, and what you've been able to learn from him and pick up as being one of the most experienced point guards in this conference.
Yeah, DeJour's been a big help for me this year, just taking me through reads and stuff like that, how to just play with people's minds, get the team going. He's been really good for me, just veteran stuff.
And for Jaylen, Coach Mihalik just didn't at all try to spare anything. He said it's going to be you in that starting lineup. How does it feel to finally be a part of this starting group of guys, and what are you excited for most about opening night?
I'm glad that I'm just ready for the position. I've been waiting 2 years, just learning everything behind Justin. He showed me the ropes and everything, so I'm just ready to fill that position.
Jaylen, what's the difference to you between coming off the bench and being a starter? How does it change your game, if at all?
Not really. You just have to be ready from the beginning. Like, at first you get to watch the defense and everything, but you just have to be ready when the ball goes up.
Have you spoken to Justin at all since he made the opening night roster for the Jazz at all? Or
Yeah, I've spoken to him, like, congratulations, all that. We talk every now and then.
Cool. So, obviously, you're filling a huge role in Justin's former position at that 2 spot. How are you going to make it any different? What are you going to do at that spot that maybe people didn't see Justin do? How are you going to make it your own?
I'm just playing my own game. I know what I can bring to the table, and I'll just show everybody else what I can do.
And Jaylen, Coach said you've been working a little bit on mid-range, driving to the basket, things like that. How's that been going, and what kind of who have you been working with? How's that been progressing this offseason?
Well, everyone sees me as a three-point shooter, but I want to show that I can make it from all around the court. I've been working out mostly with Speedy and CC, other coach, and they just been helping me with changing my shots up and finding the open spots to score.
Caleb, this community, this team, the alumni, we all know Jaylen, but we don't really know you. So if you don't mind, I'd like to engage in a little bit of rapid fire with you, just so everyone can get a bit of a sense of who you are. So we're going to start off with just basic questions. First thing that comes to your mind. Favorite food?
Pasta by far.
Favorite genre of music?
Trap.
Favorite television show?
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Favorite movie?
Butter Round.
Favorite pregame meal?
Pasta again.
Pasta again?
Yeah.
What you were looking forward most to about this season?
Just bonding with the guys. We got a lot of young guys. Like, most of everybody on the team returning next year, too. So just bonding with them, getting to know everybody on the court, off the court.
And Caleb, for you, just how would you describe your game as a player for somebody who's never watched you play?
Real fast pace, like to get people involved, pick my spots when to score, but mostly like just run the team.
Go ahead.
And what has Coach Mihalik kind of taught you so far? What have you learned the most here in the first couple months of workouts and practice with the college team?
Mostly just like reads. Like, I played at a really good high school, but it was like it's kind of different high school and college, speeds of it, how everybody's strong, everybody is, stuff like that. But mostly like Speedy's really been helping me a lot with that, just because he played on the top level. So
Coach Mihalik touched on that other scrimmage you guys had already played against that other D1 program. He said it wasn't exactly the result he was hoping for. What kind of lessons and what did you guys learn about this current group that needs to improve and needs to be worked on before the official start to the season?
I just noticed that the same intensity we have during practice, we have to carry that against a different opponent. We just can't look past it. We have to keep the same energy every day.
Yeah, just can't underestimate nobody. Just come out strong from the jump. And like out the bench, you got to pick it up, too, when we come in.
Caleb, is there any kind of pressure assuming that backup point guard spot as a freshman for a team that was just ranked CAA preseason number 1?
Nah, not really. You know, the shorts really been helping me a lot. Like off the court, we getting extra work after practice, all that. So I think I'm ready for it.
What does being picked number 1 in the preseason mean to you guys? Obviously, Jaylen, you were here last year. Do you see it as kind of a vote of confidence, being that Justin's not here, in terms of a vote of confidence to the guys that are here this season, or do you see it kind of as, like Coach Mihalik said, having a target on your back?
Yeah, it's a target on the back, but it's nice to be named number 1, but we also have to prove it.
We look up and down the schedule. I think the flashiest game, most appealing to the casual basketball fan, is that UCLA game. There are other games on this schedule, though, that mean a lot and will mean a lot down the stretch of the season. What are some of those games that you guys have highlighted or are really looking forward to, especially in non-conference?
St. Bonaventure, for sure.
Yeah.
I think that game's going to be like a really good one. And it's at St. Bonaventure, you know. We got Tariq Coburn. He came from St. Bonaventure, so I think that would be a really good game.
We have a lot of games with big school names, but we can't overlook that. We just have to take every game as the same.
Are you guys really looking forward to that first home game against JMU? Last time they were in this house, they ended that home winning streak. It was the senior night, Justin Wright-Foreman going out. They took you guys down in overtime. How much are you guys looking forward to finally refacing them here in Hofstra?
I feel like it's going to be a big game because they took our undefeated season at home, so it's an expected game we're going to be ready for.
And finally, what's the number 1 thing you guys need to do so that when the CAA season finishes, you guys are in that number 1 spot? What do you feel like you really have to do to earn that?
I would probably say defense. Just really lock in on defense because we can score the ball with the best of them. So I would say defense.
Just keyword staying consistent. Just keeping the momentum going.
Caleb Burgess and Jaylen Ray, thank you guys so much, and look forward to watching you play in 2 weeks.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Guys, thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
And again, that was Caleb Burgess and Jaylen Ray, the guards for the Hofstra Pride men's basketball team. And, Pat, I think a couple of interesting things that they said stuck out to me. I think that, the question you asked about that game against UMass, obviously that's become, or the D1 team has become kind of a talking point here. And I think that, something that Hofstra's going to have to do is they're going to have to keep moving forward and keep their foot on the gas no matter where they were picked in that first preseason, poll.
And as now we get set to be joined by the new head coach of the Hofstra Pride women's basketball program, Danielle Santos Atkinson. Coach, first off, how are you doing today? How excited are you for this new season to finally begin?
So excited. We've been practicing against each other. It's going to be really fun to finally get against somebody else and to play, in an actual real live game.
And, Coach, just, what has been the mood surrounding the team here through the first few, months of practices and workouts and things like that?
Could not ask for a better team. Could not ask for a better group of girls. They've got great chemistry amongst each other, which is great. They're all bought in. They're all excited about where we're going and what we're doing. And so you could not, as a new coach, ask for a better situation. We've got to get better, obviously, and some of the things that we need to do on the court. But in terms of the team and how they've reacted to the change, has been great.
How do you describe yourself as a head coach?
I think, I am a players coach. I want to make sure I have the relationships amongst the players and build from there. You cannot coach a player. You cannot push them to reach their full potential without having that relationship. And so I'm definitely a relationship-based coach and want to make sure we get the best out of them in that way.
Coach, you've already touched on this group. You set up at the podium. You had 13 returners, 5 of them seniors. How have the seniors in particular made your job in this transition easier for you and helped build that camaraderie with, it's ultimately a team of returners, but with the newcomers and with the new coaching staff in particular?
The seniors know it's their last go, and they know they have an opportunity here with the change to be able to really do something special, and that's what they want to do. And they've led the charge in making sure that everybody's on board and making sure that we're all on the same page as we continue to work through our goals. Every single person returning is stepping up into a different role. And so in that way, it's as if we've got 16 freshmen.
How have some of the older players on the team, like Alexis Davis, Ana Hernandez-Heel, how have they helped you adjust to, life here at Hofstra? Well, you've been here before, but how have they helped you adjust to this team and, moving forward and things like that?
They're very open. They're always up in the offices. They always come up and have conversation. They help me keep a good pulse on the team. They help me understand, Coach, we understand why we're doing what we're doing, but we have a question about this. We want to know this. And so they help me keep a pulse on the team, and they really help drive the players. They help translate my message to them in a way that they can understand it, and they've been that great bridge and gap between the staff and the team.
Coach, supporting you and behind you is a very diverse group of assistant coaches. What was the mindset when going out there and trying to attract other coaches and build this coaching staff?
First and foremost, I wanted coaches that understood how important it was to pour into the players. We coach basketball, but it's so much more than that. So I wanted people that also understood that it's about relationships, that also understood that we're in a business of impacting lives, more so than coaching basketball. After that, I wanted people with great experience. I wanted people that could come in and understood what it took to win and knew what we needed to do on a daily basis. I also wanted to have some former head coaches on staff, whether that was 1 or 2. I lucked out and got 2, so that's great. But I wanted to be able to have those people that have sat in that seat, that understand, the waters in that space of being a head coach.
What did you learn from your first go-around here at Hofstra that maybe can help you going forward? You saw a couple of 20-win teams here and a couple of, really solid programs you're an assistant. How can it help you, moving forward?
I think two of the biggest ways that it's helped thus far is alumni support. And so I was here for 4 years, and I coached 4 teams and recruited a few of the girls that came after that. And so the alumni support, really reaching back and reaching out and getting them reconnected has been one way. The support of the alumni is going to be really crucial to our success. And the second way, I would say the recruiting landscape. And so having been up here, I'm really familiar with the teams and the coaches on the island and in the city. city and then the regional states. So that's helped us get a jump start in the recruiting.
In your first few seasons as a coach back in 2006 through 2009, you saw this team or this program at its highest point, winning 26 games in 2006, but then the following season, only 5 wins in 2007. But in that following season after that, you guys bounced back and were once again a very competitive program, winning 16 games. How was that, or how will that experience, seeing and going through that transition of a team who only won 5 games one season to 16 games the next, how will that help you in this process of revitalizing this current program?
Yeah, so in that time, you've got to understand, so we graduated a lot of players, and so as you said, we were rebuilding and had to reestablish what our identity was. I learned in that respect that you've got to not only coach that team and do everything you can to win as many games as you can for that year, but you've also got to build a foundation, and you also got to make sure you're building and growing and grooming for the future, which was in return the 16 wins that next season. And so looking big picture, you're coaching the team and you're doing everything you can in that year to be the absolute best you can be in whatever that looks like, but not losing sight of that foundation and that culture that you have to build for the future.
And, Coach, let's talk a little bit about the non-conference schedule. All really local games. Connecticut's basically the furthest state you're going in non-conference. What was the mindset behind that? I know, obviously, with a coaching transition, the non-conference can get a little wacky as far as making the schedule, but just was there a specific mindset behind staying local for all your non-conference games?
Well, honestly, a majority of our non-conference schedule was already put together.
Right.
There were only a couple games that we added, and in adding those games, we were really just looking to where can we go out, who can we go out and play that we're going to be able to compete competitively, so that they can understand not only what it takes to win, but then also feel what the winning feels like. You want to step out and win games, and you want to get used to that, and you want that to become the expectation. And so, again, majority of our conference was set. We only added a couple games.
What do you know about the CAA? Obviously, coached here, but it's 10 years ago. So what do you know about the current landscape of women's basketball in the CAA?
Yeah, CAA is a competitive conference. Really, really exciting. I think it's one of the top conferences in the country for what it brings. There's a lot of top returning players, which makes it really, really exciting going into this year. There's a lot of talent from top to bottom. So that's going to be fun to watch. Every time we step out on the court, it's going to be a challenge. But then also having the opportunity to win games. We're never going to walk into a game thinking we're outmatched, thinking that the other team has any more than us, because we plan to be the hardest working team in the CAA.
Now, as a head coach for this program, what do you notice are already some of the biggest differences between coaching in a Power 5 conference as opposed to a mid-major conference?
You know what? Basketball is basketball at the end of the day. And so coming out here and coaching basketball, there's not much of a difference. There's not much of a difference there. I would say some of the things that maybe you're able to do at a Power 5 conference, it's not necessary for us to do here at our level. But basketball is basketball, and the players have the same desire to win. The players have the same desire to get better, and they have the same goals, which is to win a championship and do the absolute best they can on the court and in the classroom.
And, Coach, just to talk about the roster for a little bit, is there anyone who maybe didn't see as much playing time last year who has jumped out to you in workouts? You're saying, wow, she's really improved, or she's really good. I didn't realize based on how much she's played. Is there anyone who's kind of jumped off the page to you?
Yeah, definitely. First, let me just talk about the core that we have returning. We have a lot of talent in our seniors, but we've got a lot of talent in those underclassmen, which is really, really exciting. We had a scrimmage the other day, and we had multiple players in double figures. And that's how we're going to win games this year. We've got to have multiple players fill up the stat sheet. We're not going to have that one person that's scoring 30, 40 points. We don't have to have that. We've got so many players on the team that are talented and are able to really be impacts for us. The one player, in answer to your question, that has really stood out that didn't play as many minutes last year would probably be Jaylen Brown. She's really worked on her game over the summer and this preseason, and she stepped up into a leadership role. She is being aggressive on both ends of the court, and she brings a lot for us, and she's going to have to this season.
You have that perspective not only as a coach for this team, but also as a player for this program. How do you think that gives you an advantage coaching these girls after coming off of such a struggling season?
I understand where they're coming from. As a player, I've been there. I had seasons where we did really, really well. I know what coaching change is like. I signed under a coach that I was ultimately not able to play for. So I have that perspective in that way. And again, I know what it's like. And so I've been there and I feel it. But I also have been with them these last few months, and they want it, and they're hungry, and they're determined. And we're going to use that and feed off of that and work to do our absolute best.
And Coach Alexis Davis may not be ready for the start of the season, but something that the players talked about was Sorella Neza and how she's looked so far in off-season workouts and how she can push for that starting point guard job to start. Just what's impressed you most about her game so far?
Yeah, Sorrell has come in, and she's very, very mature. And so she's older. She's an older freshman coming in, and her maturity and her leadership and her maturity in her game have really shown. She's very steady. She doesn't get too high. She doesn't get too low. And she's really intentional and purposeful in the things that she's doing. And so she's been very impressive for us, and she's come out, and she makes good decisions, and she's doing exactly what we need her to do.
Coach, you talk about that long-term goal of winning that CAA championship. By the end of this season, what do you think this team needs to have accomplished in terms of just small-term goals in order to eventually reach that ultimate goal of that CAA championship?
We've got to learn how to compete every single day, every single second that we're on the court, and I think that's going to be the biggest thing for us. They were in so many games last year, and in the end, they came up short. When you are competitive and there's a desire and a drive within you to win at all cost, you're able to do great things on the court. It makes up for mistakes on either end of the court. And so for us to really learn how to compete and be competitive every single game is what we're going to need.
And, Coach, you open the season 2 weeks from today against Hartford. What's the number one thing you're working on these next 2 weeks with the girls?
The details. The details. They're playing very, very hard. Their effort is there, and they're trying to do everything that we're asking them to do. But we've got to shore up some of the details. We've got to make sure that we're intentional and purposeful with the things that we're doing and executing on both ends of the court. And if we can take care of those details, then their work ethic will help make up for anything that we lack.
Coach Danielle Santos Atkinson of the Hofstra Pride women's basketball team. Coach, thanks so much, and best of luck this season.
Thank you.
Coach, thank you. Good luck.
Thanks.
And again, that was Hofstra women's basketball coach Danielle Santos Atkinson. I think that there was a lot of things that definitely stood out to me that she talked about. I think the number one thing, obviously, is going to be for them going forward here is the effort that they've brought forward to the table that she was talking about that the team brings every day. And I think that that's going to be huge for this Hofstra women's basketball team moving forward.
Yeah, I think a lot of Hofstra fans are focused on the hype and the excitement around the Hofstra men's program, which they have every right to be. It's going to be a program that's going to really shine this season. I think it's going to prove that they don't need that one player in Justin Wright Foreman to have that tremendous success. But I don't want it to overshadow what this Hofstra women's team very well could accomplish this year. Coach Santos Atkinson has made it a point to say this is going to be a process. It's a season by season step process in order to reach that ultimate goal of winning a CAA championship. But we have seen in college basketball and in professional sports huge turnarounds by coaching changes such as this. And you got to love the attitude. You got to love the fire Coach Santos Atkinson exudes every time she speaks about this team and this group. You just feel like it's almost like a whole different group of girls playing for this team. You feel like it's not even the same team as it was last year, just by the way she's talking about them and the real energy she says they're bringing to the court. And honestly, when we were speaking to some of the players earlier, and Alexis Davis, Jakayla Brown, as well as Ana Hernandez-Heel and Marianne Collin, you just feel like there's this whole new energy and positivity surrounding this program. And after last season, that's honestly the best you could have hoped for heading into this new 2019-2020 season.
And I think I agree with you. I mean, I think that positivity and that breath of fresh air is kind of how I described it, that I saw from her when she was up there speaking at the podium, and the players kind of felt the same way when I had asked them. So I think that that's going to be something pretty crucial going forward. And before we kind of wrap things up here, Pat, from on site, as we got a leaf blower in the background, before we wrap things up here on site, just to get into this men's basketball team, anything you heard today that kind of stuck out to you?
I've been a huge advocate for this team, and that they're going to be just as good, if not better, than they were last year. So in terms of surprises, not really. I have to be honest. I really have been confident in this team since before the preseason, when our polls ever came out, that they're going to be extremely, extremely good. What did surprise me was how Coach Mihalik and they talked about their scrimmage. That the way they said that they're not going to beat top quality teams in this conference, nevertheless top opponents they're going to play in their non-conference, such as UCLA and St. Bonaventure. That's a concern this close to the season. They still have 2 weeks to get things ready and get things going, but that was definitely a surprise to me to see how at least far they were from where they want to be after that scrimmage against that other D1 school. I guess they kind of spoiled it. Coach did say it was UMass in his during his time at the podium, so that was probably my biggest surprise, but I still think this team has a lot of exciting things to be, or a lot of facets to be excited about, and I think they're rightfully ranked preseason number 1.
And that will do it for our time here on site at Hofstra Basketball Media Day. The Hofstra women's basketball team opens the season in 2 weeks, Wednesday, November 6th at Hartford, and the men's basketball team opens against San Jose State right here at the MAC. We'll bring you our preseason coverage, or our preview show for both basketball teams on Friday, November 8th, starting at 7 p.m. Again, thank you very much to everyone, all of our guests who came on set here, as well as our engineer, Andrew Bachgalupo, back in the studio. For Andrew Merdolo and Pat Foster, I'm Kenny Conrad signing off saying have a good day, and let's look forward to the Hofstra basketball.